Picture this. You're walking to your car after grabbing lunch. A police officer steps out of nowhere, holds up a hand, and says, "Hey, relax. You're not in any trouble. We just need you to answer a few questions. You're a witness." And you think, okay, cool. I didn't do anything wrong. I'll just talk to them. Easy. That decision right there has sent innocent people to prison, not because they were guilty, not because they lied, but because they didn't know the 4 words they were legally allowed to say, and they didn't say them. Today, I'm going to give you those words. I'm going to explain exactly what happens when police approach you as a witness, why it is one of the most legally dangerous positions you can find yourself in, and what defense attorneys, the people who defend innocent and guilty people alike for a living, actually tell their own family members to say. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel is for regular people who want to understand the law the way lawyers do. No fluff, no jargon, just real information you can actually use. If that sounds like something you want, subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. We drop this kind of content every week, and trust me, you want to see it before you need it. Okay, let's get into it. Here's the first thing I need you to really understand, and I mean really sit with this for a second. The word witness is not a legal status. It is not a protection. It is not a promise. When a cop walks up to you and says, "You're just a witness, we just need a few questions," they are not giving you immunity. They are not saying nothing you say will be used against you. They are using a word that sounds casual and non-threatening specifically so you will let your guard down and start talking. Think about it from their perspective. Their job is to gather information. If they walked up to you and said, "You're a suspect," you'd shut down immediately. Most people know what to do when they're a suspect. But a witness? That sounds like helping out. That sounds like being a good citizen. Nobody wants to seem uncooperative when they've done nothing wrong. So people talk. And that's exactly where things fall apart. Let me walk you through a scenario that plays out in real life more than most people realize. Your neighbor gets robbed. You had nothing to do with it. You don't know who did it. But you live next door, so police come to you. You're a witness, they say. Just a few questions. You're honest. You cooperate. You tell them you came home around 9 p.m. The robbery happened between 8:30 and 9:15. You were in the area, but so was everyone who lives on that street. You don't remember the exact time you pulled in. You say 9-ish. A neighbor tells police they heard someone outside at 8:45. Now there's a timeline that includes you. You mention you've had issues with your neighbor. Maybe their dog barks too much. Maybe there's been some tension. The officer writes down, "expressed hostility toward victim." You're a little nervous because this is a police interview and that's just how it feels. So you try to over-explain. You say something like, "I know it looks a little weird that I was home that night, but..." And now they have a quote where you admitted it looks weird. You walked in as a witness. You are now leaving as a suspect. And here's the brutal part. You did it entirely with your own words. You didn't lie. You didn't do anything wrong. You just talked because you thought talking was safe. This is called the witness to suspect pipeline. It is real, it happens constantly, and the only thing that stops it is knowing what to say before you ever find yourself in that situation. So, what do you actually say? Defense attorneys, people who literally spend their careers watching innocent people talk their way into handcuffs, they almost all start in the same place. And it's 4 words. Am I free to go? That's it. That's where you start. Here's why this works. When a police officer approaches you in public, they can only do one of 2 things legally. They can have a voluntary conversation with you, which means you can walk away anytime, or they can formally detain you. But the thing is, they are not required to tell you which one it is. They can let you assume you have to stand there and answer, even if you don't. So you take the guesswork out of it. You ask directly, "Am I free to go?" If they say yes, or anything that means yes, you say, "Thank you, officer," and you leave, calmly. No running, no attitude, no parting explanation. You just go. If they say no, or they dodge the question, or say, "Not yet, just a couple more minutes," then you know, you are being detained. And now you move to the second phrase. "I'd like to speak with an attorney before answering any questions." Say it calmly, Say it respectfully. Say it like you've said it 100 times before, even if you've never said it once in your life. And then, and I cannot stress this enough, stop talking. Not forever, not because you're guilty, just until you have someone in your corner who knows how to navigate this for you. People always ask me, why does silence matter so much if I'm innocent? And I get it. It feels backwards. It feels like if you have nothing to hide, you should just explain yourself and it'll be fine. But here's the thing. Innocent people incriminate themselves all the time. Not because they're liars, because they're human. They get nervous and misremember a time or a date. They over-explain and create new inconsistencies. They say something like, I know how this sounds, and now there's a quote. They try to be helpful and accidentally hand someone a piece of a puzzle that didn't exist 5 minutes ago. Your attorney is trained to handle that pressure. That's literally the job. Let them do it. Now there's a third phrase, and in some situations it might be the most important one. After you've asked for an attorney, some officers will keep asking questions anyway. They're hoping you'll get uncomfortable with the silence and just start talking. It happens. And if it happens to you, this is what you say. I am invoking my right to remain silent. You say it out loud, clearly, verbally. This is not optional phrasing. The Supreme Court actually ruled on this in a case called Burgess versus Tompkins, and what they said is that just staying quiet isn't always enough. You have to explicitly say you're invoking your right to silence. Otherwise, anything you say later might still be used. So you say it, and then you actually stay silent. You don't respond to statements that are designed to get a reaction. You don't answer just one more question. You wait for your lawyer. Okay, I also want to talk about the things people do thinking they're helping themselves that are actually making everything worse. Number 1, do not lie. I know why people do this. You're panicked. You want the whole situation to disappear. You think one small lie will make them go away. It won't. And lying to law enforcement is a crime in itself. People have ended up charged with obstruction of justice on top of whatever else they were suspected of, not because of the original situation, but because they lied during questioning. If you don't want to answer, don't answer. That's always safer than a lie. Number 2, do not try to explain your innocence. This is the one that gets people the most, because it feels so wrong to stay quiet when you know you didn't do anything. But every explanation you give creates new details. New details create new things to poke holes in. New inconsistencies create reasonable suspicion. Defense attorneys see this constantly. Someone who was barely connected to a situation talks themselves into being the primary focus of an investigation. Don't explain. Invoke. Number 3, do not consent to a search. If an officer asks, "Do you mind if we look around?" that is a question, not an order. And you can say, "I do not consent to a search." If they have a warrant or legal authority, they don't need your permission. If they're asking, it means they don't have that authority yet. Saying no is completely legal. Number 4, do not physically resist, ever. Even if they're wrong, even if what they're doing is completely illegal. The street is not where you win a legal argument. You comply with your body, you invoke your rights with your words, and then you fight it in court, where the rules actually work in your favor. Now, I know a lot of people watching aren't in the United States, so let me speak to that for a second. The specific phrases we talked about, the Fifth Amendment, invoking counsel, those are rooted in American law. But the core principle, that is universal. In the UK, you have the right to silence, though courts can draw certain inferences in some cases, which honestly makes having legal advice even more important. In Canada, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms protects your right to remain silent and to retain a lawyer. In Australia, the common law right to silence is recognized across all states. And across much of the Commonwealth, including Nigeria and across Africa, the right to remain silent during police questioning exists, though how it's enforced and how accessible legal help is can vary a lot. The point is, wherever you are, the principle holds. Ask if you're free to go. Request legal counsel. Don't answer questions without it. And always find out the specific laws in your country and your region, because the details matter. All right, let me give you the short version you can actually remember. When a police officer approaches you and says you're a witness, here's what you do. First, you ask, "Am I free to go?" If they say yes, you leave. If they say no, you move to step 2. Step 2. I'd like to speak with an attorney before answering any questions. And then you stop talking. Step 3, if they keep pushing, I am invoking my right to remain silent. And then you actually stay silent. That's it. 3 phrases. Write them down, screenshot this, send it to someone you care about. Look, I want to be real with you before I wrap up. This is not about disrespecting law enforcement. Most officers are just doing a job, and most of the time things are fine. But you don't know what investigation you've walked into. You don't know what theory someone has already formed before they came to you. You don't know what information was gathered before they said a single word. What you do know, or what you know now, is your rights, and using them isn't suspicious. It isn't obstructive. It is smart. It is legal, and it is exactly what any good lawyer would tell their own family to do. The people who come out of these situations best are never the people who talk the most. They're the people who knew when to stop. Now you know. If this video helped you, please share it, send it to someone, post it somewhere, because this is information that only protects you if you actually have it before you need it. Most people learn this the hard way. You don't have to. And if you want to keep building this kind of knowledge, subscribe right now. Every single week, we break down real legal situations in plain language so you're never caught off guard. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and join the community. I'll see you in the next one.